Good morning and welcome to Rising. Thanks for coming with us on this journey through the news and life and I don't know what else.
And a snowy Washington, D.C. this morning as well.
That's snowy Washington, D.C.
A journey all of itself. But in any event, lots of news. So what is on your radar, Robby?
We'll get right to it. President Donald Trump is apparently serious about his plans for the U.S. to take control of the Gaza Strip. He met with King Abdullah of Jordan on Tuesday to discuss his plans to evacuate some Palestinians from the war-torn stretch of land, which has been reduced to rubble in the wake of Israel's war on Hamas. Here is what Trump said.
Taxpayer dollars won't be used for this. So what money are you going to use to buy Gaza?
We're not going to buy anything. We're going to have it, and we're going to keep it, and we're going to make sure that there's going to be peace, and there's not going to be any problem, and nobody's going to question it. And we're going to run it very properly, and eventually we'll have economic development at a very large scale, maybe the largest scale on that site. And we'll have lots of good things built there, including hotels and office buildings and housing and other things. And we'll make that site into what it should be. And you have some good people and some bad people, and you may have hostages right now. And you know, I have a Saturday deadline, and I don't think they're going to make the deadline personally. I think they want to play tough guy, but we'll see how tough they are. But it's going to be a wonderful thing. It's going to be wonderful for the Middle East.
Look, peace in the Middle East is a wonderful notion. It's also an elusive one. The Israelis and the Palestinians are fighting because they have very different ideas on how to achieve that peace and even what they consider peace. Now, is it really America first to say that the U.S. should come in and adjudicate this dispute? Haven't the American people had enough of that? Now, Trump, to his credit, has previously recognized that the bipartisan foreign policy establishment, which is reflexively hawkish and neoconservative, has failed to deliver peace and promote America's interests abroad. He pushed Israel to make a deal to return the hostages and end the fighting with Hamas, which has already resulted in the deaths of thousands of innocent Palestinians. This was a massive accomplishment, something Biden couldn't get done because Netanyahu didn't respect Joe Biden. Any plan, however, to put the U.S. at the center of Gaza's future is ill-conceived. Now, if the Palestinians are ready to reject Hamas and want to employ American companies to rebuild the area for their economic benefit and ours, in an ideal world, look, that would be just fine. That's one matter. But forcibly displacing the Palestinians into other countries that don't want them, well, that's quite another. Jordan is an important Middle Eastern ally. They don't want to take the bulk of the Palestinians. King Abdullah agreed to take a small number of child refugees. That's very kind of him, but it's quite different. We'd risk destabilizing his country if we pushed all the Palestinians into Jordan. Do we really want to do that? Of course not. Now, look, I can understand the appeal of splitting up the Palestinians and incorporating them into Egypt, Saudi Arabia, etc. Those countries don't want to do that either. The Palestinians don't want to do that. Many of them continue to want their own Palestinian state. Others want to continue fighting Israel in this doomed crusade forever. None of these are great options, and given that none of them are great options, shouldn't the U.S. just remove itself from the equation? Why does it have to be our business? Earlier this week, I hailed Elon Musk for suggesting that the U.S. should finally audit the Fed in accordance with the dreams of former Republican Congressman Ron Paul, a Libertarian icon. Well, Paul also has some advice for Trump about Gaza, namely, let's stay out of it. Let's watch.
In fact, polls show that the majority of Americans oppose providing military aid to Israel or other countries. One of the best comments was made by Libertarian scholar and podcaster Tom Woods. He suggested that Trump-Gaza's proposal is the type of wasteful overseas spending that DOGE should be working to eliminate. Trump's plan has also been criticized by the government of Saudi Arabia. This could mean that if President Trump follows through with this proposal, it will further push Saudi Arabia away from the United States and toward the BRIC alliance.
Similarly, former Congressman Paul's son, Senator Rand Paul, criticized Secretary of State Marco Rubio for backing just such a plan to make Gaza beautiful again. That's how Rubio described it. Again, that sounds nice in theory, but if it's accomplished with American military might over the objections of the people who live there, it's going to cause chaos. Rand Paul said, quote, "The pursuit for peace should be that of the Israelis and the Palestinians. I thought we voted for America first We have no business contemplating yet another occupation to doom our treasure and spill our soldiers' blood. Amen to that. Listen to the Paul family, Donald Trump. They know what they're talking about.
So this is an interesting one, Robbie, because it's one of these instances where you and I arrive, I think, at basically the same destination from different routes. Your view, as you just laid out there, is to do with the cost to the American taxpayer and the general enmeshing of America in foreign affairs. In relation to Trump's proposal on Gaza, I think it is the definition of ethnic cleansing. He has said that he wants to remove all the Palestinians from Gaza. To forcibly move a block of people from their homeland to somewhere else is clearly ethnic cleansing in my view, and in the view of many other people who know a lot about international law. So I think it would be unjust. I think it would be also just a quagmire that the United States would be drawn into. The Palestinians en masse are not going to agree to abandon Gaza, having previously endured an enormous assault by Israel for 15 months. And I think it would be interesting to see whether Ron Paul's kind of idea of cutting off military aid to Israel would have any chance of coming to fruition. He's right that it's fairly unpopular. There was a study done by Brown University that the Biden administration had supplied $18 billion in arms in the year after Hamas's attacks of October 7th, which we have always said are terrible and were heinous and all the rest of it. So, I mean, if Ron Paul and Rand Paul and you are coming into that position from albeit a slightly different perspective, I think that's fine.
Yeah, I'll tackle it from any perspective that is likely to actually result in the policy I want. Elon Musk, Doge, they're looking for areas of the government to cut. Let's consider, we just went through USAID and all these kinds of foreign payments that I argue about, and I don't like a lot of them, and maybe you like some of them, and
sure.
would look askance at some others. But let's count this. This is a massive foreign expenditure, the money we give to Israel and other nations, and is this really promoting our own safety? In terms of the ethnic cleansing, I'm not at all dismissing the arguments that this would be unjust. I don't know exactly what term would be the right way to apply it. I don't want to displace anyone over the globe from where they live by force of our military. That's just bad and wrong. The issue with the Palestinians, I also don't think the Palestinians are a monolith. Probably is a variety of views among them. We read a little bit of polling to try to understand their, if what most of them want is just permanent war with Israel in order to regain their homes that are in the Israeli state, I don't think that's whether it's legitimate or not, it's not a reasonable objective. It's not an objective that is likely to come to fruition. So I can see a world where other people decide what would be better for them, but if they don't want that, then it's never going to work. If some of the Palestinians do want to reject terrorism and engage in economic projects with the West or with their neighbors, again, then they shouldn't have to leave at all. It should just be they should participate in the rebuilding. That's not going to happen as long as Hamas remains the de facto controller of the region. But
well, yeah, but you see, here's where I come down on that point. In relation to the whole, they have to reject Hamas and all of that. Armed groups exist or thrive whenever a peaceful means of addressing legitimate grievances doesn't exist. And so Mr. Netanyahu, for example, has repeatedly said he is against a two-state solution. There have been repeated, people talk about, this conflict or this phase of the conflict began on October 7th. Over in the West Bank, it was the deadliest year for Palestinians before October 7th in 2023. So what you term terrorism, or what other people would term armed struggle, emerges from legitimate grievances that cannot be advanced in a peaceful way. Now, then there's a whole separate question about the 1948 borders versus the 1967 borders, and all of that debate. I'm not sure what the polling suggests one way or another about exactly how many Palestinians want to, as it were, wipe out Israel and how many would be amenable to a two-state solution. But the point is that I think that it's up to the Palestinian people who should lead them.
Yeah, well, I don't think it should be up to us because I don't think we have a clue for how to make it a better situation. And so hands off would be the strategy I would recommend, as would the Pauls. Donald Trump should listen. Coming up next, is the nation facing a constitutional crisis? That's the debate we'll discuss.